Welcome to Talent Pop Podcast, where we will provide tips and strategies for success in sales, networking, marketing, and business. We will be learning from real stories that will inspire you to unlock your potential, discover your talents, and develop the confidence to take action on your biggest dreams. We are focused on empowering women to connect their passions with their purpose to find true fulfillment. It's time to pop off, queens! Pop off, queens! Hi, this is Amanda O'Connell, your host of Talent Pop, and this is a special day today. We have a guest with us, Clarisa Gusman, and she is going to be, we're going to be discussing a really important topic for the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, and she's actually studying psychology as part of her master's degree, so I'm going to let her talk about that and kind of introduce herself, but thank you so much for being here. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
I think this is... I love supporting Recruiter Boom. I love all the women that y'all have on staff, and I just think it's such a great thing that y'all are doing with the podcast, and especially talking about mental health, which is just one of my passions, so I'm excited.
I love that, and we love talking about passion here at Talent Pop. One of my favorite topics as well, and Clarissa she's got a lot of jobs and a lot of responsibilities going on right now, so she's obviously pursuing her master's degree, and then she's community manager here. Is that your official title, community manager?
It is,
okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I got that right. But she manages our workspace. So we're part of a co-work space here in Boston in the Seaport, Industrious, and she does an amazing job just always anticipating people's needs and constantly busy doing things around the office, creating these amazing snacks and spreads for us, and just making sure that we have everything we need all the time. So it's really incredible. So I would kind of love to hear your day-to-day, you're balancing everything maybe from a personal perspective, what you have going on, and then we can dive into some workplace stuff too.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot going on, and I think it feels like a lot more when people start listing out, they're like, oh, you do this, and you do this, and you do this. I said, yes, yeah, you're right, I do all of those things, and so yeah. I think all of the things that I do kind of link up together in one way or another. I'm in this role, a big hospitality role, people-facing every day, 9 to 5, more than 9 to 5, 8 to 5, and sometimes even longer. And then, of course, in my master's program, learning and training to be a licensed mental health counselor. So I have a trauma specialization there at Lesley University in Cambridge right now. So I have about a year left of a 3-year intensive, full-time program. So there's just a lot of people on my mind at all times of every day, and so it can be exhausting.
Totally.
And so I think that's one thing that I've definitely been feeling and carrying with me this past year or two, and just trying to navigate the best I can.
Yeah, how do you personally feel? Because you're giving all day long, and then you're obviously studying, and it is draining. I feel like sometimes. Sometimes it's fulfilling, but I feel like other times it's just exhausting. So I guess, do you have strategies and tips that you do for yourself to kind of help you through your day?
Yeah, I definitely do, and one of the first things that they advise when you join a program, like the master's one that I'm in right now, is to start therapy. And so I did. I got back into therapy more regularly, and of course it was nice because I had some other life transitions. I had just moved in with my boyfriend, so that was a big transition. I'd been promoted, and I started managing this location, which was a really big undertaking. And then I was also a year and a half into the full-time program with school, so I just had so much going on, and so starting therapy I think was the best gift I could have given to myself. But that being said, it did bring up a lot of emotions and feelings that I was carrying around to the surface.
Sometimes that you don't realize you're carrying. You're like, oh wow, I guess I do have some things I want to talk about.
Yeah, and it sometimes made the day-to-day kind of hard.
Yeah.
Especially being so people-facing. And y'all are too with recruiting and always being, interviews on the phone and sales calls and things like that. It's sometimes hard to be able to want to dig further into myself and unpack and navigate, and also, be there for other people. So it's all a balancing act, and I think it's gotten better for sure.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like a practice like anything else. Just like, we talk about like physical health a lot, and that's like apparent, you need to like exercise and, eat right and things, but mental health feels like a whole other topic that I think as a whole, like we're getting better at, like as a community, and like things like this bringing awareness. And I think Industrious is really good at doing that, is like really identifying these important topics that we need to highlight and be aware of. And, I think being a startup too, we're trying to implement, really listen to our people and give them what they need. Because it's different. I mean, I think old school mentality was kind of like you show up and you do the work and it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. And now it's like, it's so much tied into, especially like as a mom, like I can relate to what you were saying, balancing a lot and giving a lot of yourself. It can be really difficult. So I think we're making positive steps, hopefully, in that direction, just companies in general, and seeing what you guys have done here. And can you talk about a little bit like about what Industrious does and things that you've done for your, the folks here and everything to make it better?
Yeah. So I know you were talking about how Recruiter Boom has, Kate does a really good job with like HR, and y'all really seem like a family taking care of ourselves. And I think at Industrious, it's the same thing. We have a whole people team. We don't even call them HR. We call them our people team, because they're here for, our people, our bees, we call ourselves. And so it's a whole team that's helping us every single day behind the scenes, that with just two of us here on location, every day, sometimes people don't realize how much depth there is to all of the support we have in the background.
Yeah.
Whether it's like organizing our unsick days so we don't have to use our PTO. It's still flexible PTO, but just knowing that there's like that safety guard of having an unsick day. If you really need it, you wake up like, you're going through a breakup, or like it's winter and it's a blizzard outside and you just can't go into work, which is totally fine.
You don't have to come up with an excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
exactly
take your day. Yeah,
and we even have like career chats monthly to make sure that we're all kind of just thinking about like what's best for us and our growth, and how we can better serve our communities if we're sort of working towards our own goals and trajectories. And I think also our hospitality team has a really big role in just building the community that way too, making sure we're taken care of so we can take care of, the 200, 300, 400 people that are in our spaces every day. Like I think later this week we're doing like an adult coloring station for Mental Health Month, just little things to keep people relaxed.
Just give them a little break. I think it's, some of the things I can think of probably off the top of my head are just like, we have this nice like balcony we can walk out on. And, I just sit out there by myself. And like you were mentioning too, when you're in front of people all the time and you're, it's like high energy and you're giving so much and just with people a lot. I think it's important to kind of take a little bit of a break and kind of, recharge your batteries and be by yourself. And I've noticed that with myself. Sometimes I just need that quiet time because I enjoy the action, but I know that I can't just do that all day long because then I have to go home and take care of my kids too. So
it just never ends.
Yeah.
And that's also why we have the wellness room around the corner.
Yes.
You can go in and book it and just, cry, power nap, stretch.
It's so true.
Yeah, just really anything. So the fact that even our locations for entrepreneurs, startups, for CEOs even to take the time to go do that, I think is just such an amazing way that we get to make an impact on all of these other businesses, like hundreds of thousands of businesses across the network.
That is so cool. And yesterday I had an awesome chair massage. So thank you for organizing that.
Yeah.
But I just love seeing like everything that you guys are doing. Definitely positively impacted our business. I mean, our employees love being here. They love you guys. Like, it just makes the whole experience way better. And, it's tough. I think, Will and I have talked about, what would it look like if we had our own office somewhere else? And it's like the value that you guys provide here it's so much work, and sometimes it could get overlooked, right? Because it's like, you just kind of take it for granted. It's like, everything's here, and this, all the food's here, and everything else, and and the TLC that we get. But then, when that's missing, it's like, whoa, this is different. I know. So it really just know that all of your hard work goes such a long way and has impacted like all of us in such a positive way. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's always so great to hear that feedback. I think Chelsea, who's my direct report, she and I work really well together as a team, and I think we really pride ourselves on being not only two women running the space, but also two women running a space where the minority are women. And so just trying really hard to make sure that we are taking our whole community into account and doing things that we know will support, everybody, and especially with Recruiter Boom being predominantly women.
Yeah.
I think that, we know that there is some nuances to women's success that maybe the men in this space don't really understand. And so also just making sure that, like women in the workplace are being supported, because I think oftentimes women suffer with mental health publicly and in the workplace because it's, like hormones or like she's this, she's that, she's a mother and can't handle things. And just, always keeping in mind that, it is tougher for women.
Yeah, we're definitely juggling a lot, and no, it's awesome. Do you have any other, so I know you're studying psychology as well. Any kind of like, I'm curious to kind of know what your program's like, and like, I mean, trauma, that's a huge, can be very, very heavy in terms of, a topic. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it is very heavy. I know we always say like helping is heavy, but listening and learning is heavy too. I know as peers, as students in this program, we've all bonded in such incredible ways, but I don't even know like what their favorite colors are, but like I know what their childhood trauma has been.
Yeah, wow.
So it's a lot of things like that, and I actually did take a course about career counseling. And something that my professor had said was, we spend most of our lives in our career, in our job, working, and it's probably the least likely place to talk about mental health and be able to work through it in the workplace.
It's so interesting because that is like so much of your life. It's almost like a second family. I mean, that's how kind of we see it, and it's like that's strange to me that it wouldn't be a part, like a natural part of like what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Is like how could you for so many years sweep things like under the rug, all the time? And that's why, with our team too, we try to do like those check-ins, one-on-ones, and just ask them honestly. It doesn't even matter like about anything else besides how they're doing. Like, how are you? And just, let people share.
Yeah, especially because they do begin to be just another version of your family.
Yeah.
I think we probably spend more time with each other than our own family or even our own friends, and it's just so strange. Like you said, some things you spend more time with these people here, but your friends know, like the more personal things about you. And sometimes your colleagues will never even know if you're like dog died or if you're having a rough season, and it just shouldn't be that way.
Totally. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I heard recently you were on a panel discussion as well. What was that kind of about? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so every month our company does career chats. So I think the first one was in Women in the Workplace for Women's History Month. And then the month after that, they did something about like growth within the company. It's really focused on like growth and development and learning from each other internally. And then this one was about Mental Health Awareness Month or Mental Health Action Month. And so we just kind of talked about, like the history in the workplace and how we navigate things. We got to see some other people who were in the company in the chat, like asking questions or putting in how they cope with things. There's a lot of people just being really grateful that it happened, myself included, and also a lot of people just sharing ways that they cope, ways that they navigate their feelings. A lot of people who have taken up journaling.
Yes. Like there's a lot of strategies, and like we've gone around internally too. We've been trying to address, what can we do for Mental Health Month, and thinking about ways internally that we all handle, mental health, right? And so like some of them, we've been posting tips on our LinkedIn. So like, exercising and even like eating right, like all of that is part of, self-care. And I'm pretty passionate about health and stuff. You can listen to my history on the first episode, but yeah, I think that's extremely important. And then just tips like, meditation, and there's so many things now that companies are implementing and doing. And then I always think about this technology topic, because like how consumed we are and how connected we are to like emails, especially like in our line of work too, like sales and being, FaceTiming people and being on video chats, and you're just constantly consuming technology and you're connected all the time. And when you disconnect, it can feel really, really weird, but like really, I don't know, like zen. Like, how can I describe it?
I am totally on board
like,
for that.
Ooh, that's different. I haven't done that in a while.
I think I have like 68 text messages just in my box sometimes, because they're like promo texts. They're people who are just, in group chats, or like the worst for me. I hate being in group chats because it's
like
just
ding ding.
And then I silence it, and I immediately feel better. Going home and putting my phone on Do Not Disturb, I immediately feel better knowing that like nobody else matters. This is my me time. This is time I get to, own my space and own my feelings and just sit with them. And it's been really amazing.
I think that makes me think of a huge tip for like, as I was diving into entrepreneurship and trying to balance motherhood, is just like controlling your own schedule and not letting people, I don't want to say take up your time, but just having more like, whether it's a time block and saying I'm only going to have, between this and this for calls, and that's the time I'm available, and then one of the tips I really liked that one of our colleagues shared was just being present. We've talked about this, as part of our We Culture program, and, part of our culture in the workplace is just like being fully present in the moment. And it's like, that is so hard to do with all the technology and people, but you do notice a difference because it gives you that quality of life and quality with others, and I think it makes things more fulfilling. And I think ultimately we're gonna, as hard as it is, you're gonna get more out of that moment. And I think about that with my kids, especially because it's so tempting to be like texting on the side. And I'm like, I'm at my son's baseball game, and I'm like, I need to focus on what is in front of me, because those years fly by way too fast. And today's also my birthday, so I'm thinking, wow, that year went by really fast.
A lot of reflecting.
Exactly. So yeah, a little bit nostalgic, but I think it's such a good tip, is just to try to unplug sometimes and be fully present. But we can certainly enjoy technology too, and it certainly helps us in the workplace. So
yeah.
But yeah,
I think my theme of 2022 is boundaries.
Yeah.
And
that's a good one.
Gosh, I forgot the other one. But mostly boundaries. Like, just because, like you were saying, taking time to be present and be there and prioritize yourself, and just setting, boundaries for yourself. It's so easy to check off tasks and be there for other people and be there for your team and for your kids and for your husband and your significant others and things like that sometimes we forget to listen to ourselves and follow our own cups.
And even like saying no, or like sometimes if you recognize like a toxic behavior, right, or maybe somebody that's toxic in your life, and like I realize as I get older, like, I'm 35 now, it's like I've gotten better at like setting those boundaries, but it was really difficult, like especially in the beginning when you're setting boundaries with people, or you're thinking about, you know what, this person really is not helping me feel good about myself, or like helping me in my life. Like, you don't have to, even if it's a family member or whatever, you don't have to tolerate, bad behavior, right, or negative behavior. And you can say no. Like, you don't have to do every single thing that people, ask you to do. You have to, it's like you have to set your boundaries and feel and be okay with that. And I think it's really tough because for me, like, I get afraid of how people will respond. But if you don't say anything, you're going to be unhappy in the long term. So it's like, that's something I think, like, we always talk about in our company. It's like, be positive, and these things are so important, but also like like stay away from the negativity too, or like nip
Yeah.
that in the bud, or try to like, you know, if somebody, like, we're not perfect, we're all negative at some point or another, but having like a colleague say like, hey, like, are you all right? Like, can I take you to coffee? Can we talk? And it's like, yeah, you know what? Like, I actually am going through like a weird time right now. And it's like, you know, I think recognizing that and being able to address it. And yeah, I think it's nice. Like you said, having supportive people around is everything.
Yeah, and giving yourself permission to let yourself really be you with them too, and be able to not just go get coffee, but open up with yourself and with them, and
Yeah.
give yourself permission to feel these little moments that you feel throughout the day, because I think something that most of us have been guilty of, myself included, is bottling things up. Like, okay, just need to make it through the day, just need to go home, just need to make it through the train ride, and then you fall into this cycle of, you know, I just need to make it through the week, I just need to make it through the month, I just
and
need
that's
to make
not
it
how
through
you
the
want to
year.
live life.
No, and so it, like, really just making sure you give yourself those little moments, that permission to feel the good, yes, always, but and the bad things too, because otherwise, you know, it's going to bubble over, and it's going to catch you off guard. You're going to be in the middle of a massive sales meeting, and you're just, you know, you're going to tear up.
Yeah, and also not to feel shame, like, because we're human beings. Like, we can't be happy all the time. Like, you don't have to feel badly for feeling bad. Like, it's part of who we are. And I think what the thing is, like, you can't get into like that victim mindset where it's like, well, I'm just going to wallow in pity forever. We can do that. We can curl up into a ball for, you know, a period of time. That's fine. But as long as we don't let it keep us down, because like, and for, you know, what I love about like this podcast too, is I love seeing people shine in their best light. And I think it's really about, you know, being your best self. And that's why I think mental health and this whole topic is so important, because it's so much of how you are living, you know, your life day to day. And it's not just what you portray, you know, in social media or Instagram, or, you know, putting a smile on your face through the pain or whatever that might be. Like, I think truly shining is living in your truth and being authentic despite the obstacles and the pain, and like being able to connect with people that can relate to your story.
Yeah, and in the end, giving yourself permission to feel those is going to give others that same permission too. And so just normalizing all of it, the whole process, and being able to show up for others when they need it, because you know and trust that they'll do it for you in return.
Yes. I would say, and I have to give a shout out to one of our colleagues too. Jackson is very good about, he's good about giving hugs to people.
Yeah.
And at first I was kind of like, oh, and then now I'm like, sometimes you need that. Like, again, we're humans, and of course, like, you don't probably want to hug everyone you see all the time, but like when you have that permission between, you know, people, right? And you're able to do that, it's like an endorphin release.
Yeah.
It's like a natural like endorphin release. And so it's like, I think that's another thing, you know, we can't overlook, is just really simple things we can do for one another. And I think it goes a long, long way. Just a conversation, a hug, you know, anything.
And I'm sure everybody's more appreciative of that after spending the last 2 years not being able to touch anybody,
That's
not
so
seeing
true.
everybody, and just being so hyper isolated.
That's so true. That's such an important topic, because, I mean, that's totally been an issue, I think, through COVID and the last, like you said, the last like 2 years. That was really tough for so many people, and children, and anybody.
Yeah, and 2 years in the grand scheme is not that long, but
right.
I mean, if we think about it, we don't really do anything for 2 whole years. You know, like, the seasons don't even last that long. A lot of people don't even
temporary.
Yeah, very temporary.
Yeah.
People probably relocated a few times within those few years. Like, huge life changes happen in significantly less time.
Yeah.
So the fact that we've been so detached for 2 whole years and just kind of thrown back into everything.
Yeah.
I think, one, it definitely gave a lot of people a lot of reflecting to do. And
definitely.
Then, two, I think a lot of people, like even you were saying, came out of it knowing what they need and what feels good.
You know yourself better. But, you know, it's sad, too, because I know, like, there was a lot of suffering as well. But I would say, too, what doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And we've learned a lot. And I think going forward, we're going to be we just have to focus on it. It's one of those things, and I think we're all doing some great things to be able to move forward and make some positive change here.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was awesome. I think we covered a lot of really important topics, and just really appreciate your insight and positivity and everything you bring to the table. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. It was really nice to sit down and talk with, other women who are successful, succeeding. It's always great to be in a room with other women like this.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for being here, and pop off, queens.